Question 1. With respect to confined space installations in mechanical rooms, Mr. Delgado is tasked with repairing refrigeration lines inside a tightly enclosed HVACR mechanical room. The only access is through a narrow passage where scaffold erection is limited by space and ceiling height. A senior technician suggests building a customized rolling scaffold by removing guardrails on one side for better movement and replacing planks with plywood for convenience. The safest and most compliant course of action for Mr. Delgado. A. Proceed with the modification as long as the scaffold has wheels locked and warning signage in place. B. Use a smaller frame ladder as an alternative since space is too restricted for scaffold use. C. Request an engineered design for a custom scaffold that adheres to OSHA Subpart L standards for confined spaces. D. Build the scaffold as suggested but ensure daily inspections and tie off at anchor points. Answer. Correct answer. See explanation. OSHA's 29 CFR 1926.451A6 mandates that scaffolds must be designed by a qualified person, especially in non-standard environments like confined spaces. Removing guardrails or replacing platforms with non-approved materials violates safety protocols. Confined space work requires risk mitigation, including fall protection, proper access, and engine controls. Substituting plywood or ladders in such conditions increases the risk of falls or collapse. Only custom-engineered scaffold approved for confined space use and designed by a qualified person meets regulatory compliance and ensures worker safety. Question 2. Examining the consequences of improper loading, a scaffold crew led by Is Kim sets up a supported scaffold for duct installation in a warehouse. After completing setup, multiple technicians begin placing HVAC units, duct materials, and heavy tools directly on the platform, unaware of its rated capacity. Within an hour, deflection is observed on the planks. What is the critical error in this situation? A. The crew failed to install midrails and toe boards during setup. B. The scaffold was overloaded beyond its design capacity. C. The scaffold was erected on an uneven surface without leveling jacks. D. The workers should have used a suspended scaffold instead. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Per OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451A1, scaffolds must be capable of supporting, without failure, their own weight and at least 4 times the maximum intended load. Overloading is a major cause of scaffold failures. HVAC components are often heavy and require careful load planning. The observed plank deflection is a sign that the structure is beyond its safe limits. While midrails and leveling jacks are important, the fundamental failure here relates to load management and understanding rated capacities. Key concept in scaffolding safety. Question 3. During the process of assembling a mobile scaffold inside a commercial facility, Mr. Patel notices that workers have started climbing the scaffold frame from the side without using any form of proper access. When questioned, the team lead insists that since the platform is only 6 feet high, fall protection is not necessary. What is the appropriate response from Mr. Patel? A. Ensure the workers use personal fall arrest systems at all heights. B. Allow the work to continue but instruct them to climb more cautiously. C. Halt the operation and install ladder access with guardrails and locking wheels. D. Require immediate dismantling and report to OSHA for non-compliance. Answer. Correct answer. See explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451A1 mandates that proper access, such as ladders, stair towers, or built-in ladder systems, must be provided for scaffold platforms more than 2 feet above lower level. Climbing scaffold frames is explicitly prohibited unless designed for access. Guardrails are required if the platform height exceeds 10 feet. However, safe access always required regardless of fall height. Mr. Patel's action aligns with OSHA guidance. Stop unsafe work and ensure proper access and stabilization are provided before resuming. Question 4. Given the circumstances of HVAC rooftop unit repair, Is Farrows overseeing scaffold installation adjacent to a parapet wall on a commercial building. The scaffold is assembled with proper guardrails and toe boards, but the work requires extending tools and materials over the edge, which places workers outside the protection zone. What additional control should be implemented to meet OSHA compliance? A. Require workers to use a personal fall arrest system in conjunction with the scaffold. B. Relocate the scaffold further back to eliminate the need for fall protection. C. Increase the height of the existing guardrail system to 60 inches. D. Install netting under the scaffold to catch falling objects or personnel. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451 G1 requires that workers exposed to fall hazards not mitigated by guardrails must use personal fall arrest systems. Extending work over the guardrails compromises fall protection, so if this becomes necessary, relocating the scaffold may not be feasible due to work location and guardrails over 45 inches are compliant. Netting is useful for falling objects, but not an alternative to fall arrest systems. This scenario tests understanding of layered fall protection requirements in complex work zones. Question 5. In light of recent developments in scaffold bracing systems, what is the main purpose of diagonal bracing in a supported scaffold structure? A. To provide handholds for climbing. B. To allow scaffolds to be disassembled faster. C. To ensure lateral stability and resist racking forces. D. To reduce the number of vertical posts needed. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Diagonal bracing is critical for the structural integrity of scaffolds, especially in resisting racking or side-to-side movement. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451 C3 specifies that scaffolds must be restrained from tipping by ties, guys, braces, or a combination. Bracing helps transfer loads safely and prevents collapse during wind or seismic activity. It is not intended for access or to reduce structural components. This question reinforces the physics behind safe scaffold design and the importance of stability. Elevated workspaces. Question 6. The traditional approach to HVACR duct installation at elevated heights often requires multiple tools on platform levels. Istalon's crew places power tools and refrigerant tanks directly on the platform surface without securing them. During shift change, one of the tools falls from the platform, nearly striking worker below. What critical safety element was overlooked? A. The scaffold was not properly braced. B. Fall protection was not used for the tools. C. Workers should have used aerial lifts instead. D. The working platform was not fully decked. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451 H1 requires that tools, materials, and debris be secured to prevent falling. Tool lanyards, guardrails with toe boards, and proper containment systems to help mitigate this hazard. Dropped tools are a leading cause of struck-by injuries in scaffold work. This scenario addresses the principle of protecting not only the workers on the scaffold, but also those below. Critical concept in elevated construction safety. Question 7. When analyzing a mechanical shaft installation scenario, Mr. Gonzalez and his team are working in a narrow vertical shaft, installing vertical HVACR ductwork using a suspended scaffold. The scaffold is supported by 2 wire ropes, each attached to a rooftop anchorage. Partway through the job, one of the ropes shows signs of fraying. What should be done immediately? A. Continue work as long as the load is centered. B. Apply tape around the frayed section to reduce further damage. C. Stop work and replace the damaged rope with an OSHA-approved wire rope. D. Add a secondary rope to reinforce the first while continuing work. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451A3 prohibits the use of damaged or weakened suspension components. Frayed wire rope compromises the integrity of the suspended scaffold and increases the risk of catastrophic failure. Taping or reinforcing it is not compliant or safe. Any component showing wear must be replaced immediately with a compliant alternative. This scenario tests deep understanding of suspended scaffold system integrity and inspection protocols. Question 8. The evolution of HVACR installation in industrial settings has highlighted specific scaffold concerns. When working in an atrium with high ceilings, the crew sets up a mobile scaffold for pivoting work. As they begin moving the scaffold between areas, one worker remains on the platform to save time. What regulation does this practice violate? A. OSHA does not permit movement of mobile scaffolds on carpeted floors. B. Workers must not ride a scaffold unless it meets movement criteria. C. Guardrails must be removed before moving. A scaffold. D. The scaffold must be disassembled before moving. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.452 W6 allows movement of mobile scaffolds with workers on the platform only if the scaffold is designed for such movement and all wheels are locked during work. Additionally, movement can only occur on level surfaces and the scaffold must be free of tools and other materials during relocation. In this case, leaving a worker on the platform without meeting movement criteria is a clear violation of OSHA safety rules and puts the worker at serious risk. Question 9. By evaluating scaffold inspection protocols, which of the following best reflects OSHA's position on scaffold inspection frequency? A. Only required after initial setup or when visible damage occurs. B. Must be performed by a competent person before each work shift and after any incident. C. Once per week is sufficient unless structural changes are made. D. Only when work is conducted above 10 feet. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451 F3 mandates that scaffolds must be inspected for visible defects by a competent person before each work shift and after any occurrence that could affect the structural integrity. A competent person is defined by OSHA as someone capable of identifying hazards and authorized to take corrective actions. Frequent inspections are to prevent collapse, especially in changing conditions or environments where scaffolds may be impacted. Question 10. To determine whether scaffold use is appropriate in confined shaft work, Mr. Rhodes is planning HVACR pipe installation inside an elevator shaft. The shaft is narrow, poorly ventilated, and has limited lighting. He proposes using a single-point adjustable scaffold system. What must he consider first to ensure safety and compliance? A. Ventilation must be added before any scaffold is used. B. Confirm that a qualified person has assessed the site and scaffold choice. C. Use a scissor lift instead, as scaffolds are prohibited in confined shafts. D. Workers must wear powered air purifying respirators, PAPRs. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. According to OSHA 1926.451 F7, a qualified person must design scaffolds in unique or hazardous conditions. Confined shafts present access, ventilation, and 4 hazards that require engineered controls and detailed risk assessments. While ventilation and lighting are important, they come after confirming that the scaffold type and usage are appropriate. The use of respirator depends on atmospheric testing results, not an automatic requirement. The key compliance point here is proper assessment and qualified design before deployment. Question 11. While working on a large-scale HVACR duct replacement project in a historical building, Mr. Suarez's crew needs to erect scaffolding near ornamental columns and fragile tile flooring. To protect the floor, the team proposes placing scaffold footings on wooden planks without base plates or mudsles. What is the most OSHA-compliant solution in this context? A. Place scaffold legs directly on the flooring but double the width of the planks. B. Use adjustable base plates on top of mudsles or other load-distributing materials. C. Reinforce the scaffold with diagonal bracing instead of worrying about the base. D. Install guardrails at the lowest level to offset risk from weak flooring. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451 C2 states that supported scaffold legs must rest on base plates and mudsles or other firm foundations. Wooden planks alone do not evenly distribute the load and may damage fragile floors. Adjustable base plates provide stability, while mudsles distribute the load and prevent settling or tilting. This ensures compliance with protecting the historical site. Question 12. During HVAC duct installation at a stadium, scaffolds are set up in high-traffic pedestrian areas. Despite signage, unauthorized personnel repeatedly enter the scaffold zone. What is the best advanced level safety solution to prevent public exposure to hazards? A. Erect perimeter netting around the scaffold and the sign, a spotter during work hours. B. Move the scaffolding to a less populated area even if it delays the project. C. Notify security personnel but continue using only warning cape. D. Require HVAC workers to wear high visibility vests at all times. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. Public protection around scaffolds is covered under OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451 H2. In areas with pedestrian traffic, physical barriers such as debris netting, canopies, and controlled access must be used. A spotter enhances real-time monitoring. Simply notifying security or using vests does not protect unauthorized persons. Moving the scaffold may not be practical or necessary if proper barriers are installed. Question 13. In a multi-craft HVACR mechanical room upgrade, scaffolds are built with integrated stair towers. However, workers carrying large refrigerant lines bypass the stairs and climb the scaffold frames instead. What is the proper corrective action? A. Post "Do not climb" signs on all scaffold frames. B. Retrain workers and enforce access via stair towers only. C. Allow climbing of workers. Maintain 3 points of contact. D. Install rope hoists to move materials instead of walking them. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 29 CFR 1926.451 E1 prohibits workers from climbing scaffold frames unless specifically designed for access. Training and enforcement are essential. While signage helps, it's not sufficient on its own. Rope hoists may assist with materials, but do not address the hazard of improper climbing. 3-point contact is irrelevant if the structure isn't rated climbing. Question 14. During the construction of a data center with advanced HVACR systems, an aerial lift and a supported scaffold are used simultaneously in a confined corridor. The aerial lift operator rotates the boom and accidentally strikes the scaffold, causing a partial collapse. What procedural flaw most likely led to this incident? A. Scaffold was not constructed with proper bracing. B. Workers failed to inspect the scaffold that day. C. No coordinated task planning between trades occurred. D. The aerial lift was used without a spotter. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. This is a classic example of poor coordination between work groups. OSHA and ANSI guidelines emphasize pre-task planning and coordination when multiple elevated systems are used simultaneously. This is not a scaffold design or inspection failure, but a procedural and planning breakdown that resulted in a preventable collision in a confined space. Question 15. In preparation for HVACR rooftop unit placement using scaffolds and cranes, a wind gust is forecasted at 35 miles per hour. The scaffolding is 20 feet high, freestanding, and currently unoccupied. What is the most compliant and proactive action? A. Use guy wires and tie-offs to secure the scaffold before the wind event. B. Dismantle the scaffold and resume after wind risk passes. C. Increase the width of the base to lower the center of gravity. D. Cover the scaffold with tarps to minimize wind penetration. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451 C1 requires scaffolds to be restrained against tipping, especially during weather events. Guying, tying, or bracing. 2. A stable structure is critical. Dismantling may be excessive unless winds exceed safety limits defined by the manufacturer. Covering with tarps may increase wind load and worsen the risk. Stability measures like guying are proactive and compliant. Question 16. As an HVACR retrofit site inside a processing plant, scaffolds are erected over pipes that contain live steam. The ambient temperature near the scaffold base reaches 106 degrees during operation. What extra step is required for scaffold compliance and worker safety? A. Install insulation around steam pipes only. B. Shut down steam lines while scaffold is in use. C. Use heat-resistant scaffold components and PPE. D. Require workers to take breaks every 15 minutes. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. While shutting down steam lines may be ideal, it is often impractical during retrofit work. OSHA requires that scaffolds be used safely in environmental hazards. Heat-resistant materials, including fire-rated planks, gloves, and PPE, must be provided. Components exposed to excessive heat must be verified to maintain load-bearing capacity under those conditions. Question 17. Mr. Valdez is working on an HVACR shaft at a hospital renovation site. His crew uses a 2-point suspended scaffold in a vertical shaft with 5-foot lateral clearance. They notice oscillation of the platform due to frequent movement. Which of the following controls should be implemented? A. Switch to a boom lift to reduce sway. B. Add tying points or stabilization ropes at intermediate heights. C. Shorten the work shift to reduce movement. D. Use a single point scaffold instead. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451 D18 requires that suspended scaffolds be stabilized against swaying. Intermediate tie-ins or stabilization ropes are critical in shaft work where lateral sway is common. Switching equipment or shortening work time does not eliminate the structural hazard. A single-point scaffold may increase instability, not reduce it. Question 18. At a high-school HVACR upgrade project, a supported scaffold is being erected next to an electrical panel. A crew member sets up an aluminum scaffold frame within 3 feet of exposed energized conductors. What OSHA violation is taking place? A. Use of aluminum instead of wood or fiberglass. B. Scaffold too close to exposed electrical hazards. C. Lack of ground fault circuit interrupters. D. Absence of hard hats near live circuits. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451 F6 prohibits scaffolds from being erected within 10 feet of exposed energized power lines unless the lines are denergized or insulated. The proximity and material are both problematic, but distance is the primary violation. Aluminum is conductive and exacerbates the hazard, but even non-conductive scaffolds would be non-compliant if inside 10-foot zone. Question 19. An HVACR technician is required to work on a 12-foot high scaffold during a building renovation. The scaffold is equipped with proper guardrails but has no mid-rails installed. According to OSHA, is the scaffold compliant? A. Yes, because guardrails alone suffice above 10 feet. B. No mid-rails are required unless a personal fall arrest system is used. C. Yes, if the worker wears a hard hat and harness. D. No, unless the platform is more than 20 feet high. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451 G4 Roman 2 mandates that guardrail systems include top rails, midrails, and toe boards unless other fall protection systems are in place. Midrails help prevent falls and falling tools. Guardrails alone are not enough. This reinforces the detail-level knowledge required for scaffold assembly compliance. Question 20. On a job site replacing rooftop HVACR units, a scaffold crew modifies a scaffold frame using additional coupling devices not specified by the manufacturer to extend height. What is the best explanation for why this is a serious violation? A. Couplings are inherently weak and may come loose. B. Scaffold alterations must be approved by a qualified engineer. C. It voids the scaffold warranty and insurance. D. OSHA allows modifications only up to 4 additional feet. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451.86 clearly states that scaffolds must be erected, moved, dismantled, or altered only under the supervision and design of a qualified person. Unauthorized modifications compromise load ratings and stability. This is not merely a warranty or insurance issue, it's structural hazard requiring engineering review. Question 21. During an HVACR rooftop chiller replacement, scaffolding is erected on slope metal decking. Workers use leveling jacks but omit base plates for faster setup. Midway through the job, the scaffold shifts slightly, alarming the team. What is the root cause of the unsafe condition? A. Leveling jacks were not used on all legs. B. The scaffold was not tied to the structure. C. Base plates were not used, violating load distribution rules. D. Guardrails were not installed on all sides. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451 C2I mandates that scaffold legs must rest on base plates and mudsles or other adequate firm foundations. On sloped or uneven surfaces, omitting base plates compromises load distribution and stability. The lack of base plates is a critical violation, especially on sloped decking. which can cause shifting or collapse. Question 22. At a hospital HVAC upgrade project, a suspended scaffold system is anchored to the rooftop via counterweights. A worker ties off to the counterweight structure instead of a designated fall arrest anchor. What critical mistake has been made? A. Worker used the wrong harness type. B. Worker used a fall protection system not designed for arrest. C. Scaffold was not grounded properly. D. Scaffold had no toe boards installed. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 1926.502 D15 states that anchor points must be capable of supporting at least 5,000 pounds per worker attached and must be independent of the scaffold or suspension system. Counterweights are not approved anchor points for fall protection. Doing so may result in catastrophic failure during a fall event. Question 23. An HVAC crew is installing ductwork from a rolling scaffold inside a commercial atrium. The crew forgets to lock the caster brakes during work. What is the most appropriate immediate corrective action? A. Install outriggers to widen the base. B. Replace casters with fixed wheels. C. Lock all caster brakes before any worker ascends. D. Add ballast weight to the scaffold base. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. OSHA 1926.452 W2 requires that casters and wheels be locked with positive wheel locks to prevent movement while the scaffold is in use. This is a basic safety rule for rolling scaffolds. Outriggers or ballast may enhance stability, but they do not replace the need to lock casters before use. Question 24. In a downtown HVAC duct replacement project, scaffolds are erected next to a busy sidewalk. Management installs a canopy only over one scaffold bay instead of the entire pedestrian route. What critical safety requirement has been violated? Scaffolding lacks midrails near the canopy. B. The canopy was not rated to withstand debris load. C. Pedestrian protection must extend the entire walkway length. D. Scaffold must have netting if built near a public street. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. According to OSHA 1926.451 H1, when scaffolding is constructed adjacent to areas accessible to the public, a canopy or equivalent protective structure must be erected over the entire path. Partial coverage is insufficient and puts pedestrians at risk of falling tools or debris. Question 25. During a large HVAC installation in a plant with frequent vibration from machinery, scaffold components begin to loosen over time. Which advanced safety procedure should be implemented to mitigate this hazard? A. Use vibration dampening pads under the scaffold legs. B. Conduct torque checks and retighten connections daily. C. Install warning flags to signal vibration thresholds. D. Shorten scaffold height to reduce movement. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. In environments with significant vibration, OSHA recommends enhanced inspection routines. Daily torque checks and mechanical retightening are essential to maintain joint integrity. Pads may reduce surface vibration but do not address connection integrity. This is a structural maintenance issue, not a signaling issue. Question 26. A team of HVAC installers must work inside a boiler room with less than 6 of headroom. They erect a scaffold platform 4 feet above the floor with no overhead clearance for guardrails. How should fall protection be addressed? A. Install low-profile horizontal lifeline systems. B. Use a shorter scaffold to eliminate fall risk. C. Provide a personal fall arrest system as an alternative. D. No protection is needed under 6 feet of height. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Even though the platform is under 6 feet, site-specific hazards like constrained space or hard surfaces may still require fall protection. OSHA allows substitution of FOS, personal fall arrest systems, when guardrails are impractical due to overhead restrictions. This applies especially in mechanical rooms and tight retrofits. Question 27. On a multi-level HVAC project, scaffolding is constructed over a stairwell with gaps between planks due to irregular framing. Workers occasionally drop small tools through the gaps. What is the appropriate engineering control? They install netting or screens below the platform. B. Require tool lanyards on all levels. C. Replace planks with larger ones to close the gaps. D. Issue workers hard hats with chin straps. Answer. Correct answer. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451 H2 requires protection from falling objects. Where items can fall between platform openings, debris netting or screens are mandated below the work area. Lanyards are a secondary control, not an engineering solution. Closing plank gaps may help but may not be feasible depending on scaffold design. Question 20. At a cleanroom HVACR facility upgrade, workers must use scaffolding made from non-contaminating materials. Which scaffold material is most appropriate for this type of environment? A. Powder-coated steel. B. Fiberglass reinforced plastic. C. Galvanized aluminum. D. Raw aluminum. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Cleanroom and chemical-sensitive environments often require scaffolding materials that are non-corrosive, non-shedding, and non-conductive. Fiberglass-reinforced plastic is ideal due to its chemical resistance and low particle emission. Metal scaffolds can shed particles or corrode, contaminating the clean environment. Question 29. During HVAC piping work on a swing stage scaffold, the technician alters the hoist cable position mid-task without notifying the other end. This causes a 10-degree tilt. What OSHA requirement was violated? A. The technician moved a load without securing it. B. The scaffold was not inspected after the change. C. The swing stage was not operated in coordination by both ends. D. A vertical lifeline was not used. Answer. Correct answer. See explanation. According to OSHA 1926.451 D7, two-point suspension scaffolds must be raised or lowered only in unison to maintain level orientation. Failure to coordinate movement causes tilting, leading to tipping or fall hazards. Independent movement of one end is strictly prohibited. Question 30. An HVACR installation in an old high-rise. The scaffolding is being erected on deteriorated concrete floors. The site supervisor decides to proceed without an engineer's assessment. What risk does this decision pose? A. The scaffold may exceed permissible platform load. B. The scaffold base may punch through the weakened surface. C. Workers may be exposed to electrical hazards nearby. D. OSHA requires midrails on weak platforms. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. OSHA 1926.451 C2 mandates scaffolds be erected on sound, rigid footing capable of supporting intended loads. Deteriorated concrete can fail under point loads from scaffold legs, leading to punching or collapse. An engineer's assessment is required to confirm substrate integrity in such cases.